we can provide patients a platform either in the clinic when they are having scheduled visits or in between visits, or along with those kind of visits in between. The doctors want to track them, what's going on with the treatment or medication or the well-being of the patient. We give the opportunity to the providers, to the clinics, hospital systems to tell us what they really want to collect from the patient before they take any action.
Welcome back to the Prospecting Show. Today we have Mehmet Kazgan. Is that how you say it properly?
That's correct.
Perfect. So, to start things off, give us a little bit background of kind of where you came from and, what you're doing right now, just to kind of lay the land for people.
Sure. I started as a software developer right about 25 years ago and came to United States in 2001. I got a master's in engineering in School of Mines at Colorado. And then 2 years after that, I started my first project working in Adobe Text Engine back in the days. And to date, after almost 20 years now, I worked with a lot of companies on Microsoft, Kodak, PayPal, eBay. I worked on actually healthcare companies starting around 2014. I left Aetna as a technology executive and started my own business by getting some doctors together with the idea of transcribing patient disease activity into the language that doctors can take a quick action on in their own terms. So to 2019, the company started to growing fast, and here we are in 2020 in 23 locations, collecting about 10,000 plus data points. And I became a healthcare technologist since 2014.
Wow, that's quite a story too. And I think the interesting thing for both of us is we both are not from the US originally, and right, both of us are now here. And I think that's a milestone in itself, right? A lot of people have that difficulty making that transition and coming to the country. Now, with your professional experience, what would you say the most difficult point has been up to today? What has been the most difficult point for you in your journey?
I think it was working around restrictions and regulations around healthcare. It is so hard to validate your product. If you're in healthcare, it's going to take you at least 5 times more to build the networking and connections. And then from there to get your product or platform validated, you're going to hit regulations around patient data, HIPAA, restrictions around how the data with interoperability is working. So those are the things that actually blocked us around regulation and restriction. When I say blocked, in a way, it just took a little bit more than it's supposed to. So any other industry out there, I think regulations around healthcare is a big challenge for everyone. We're kind of getting through it with great partnerships, but I wish we wouldn't have those past 2 years so we could actually proceed everything a little faster.
Yeah, and that's an interesting way to look at it too, because I think the people who have partnerships, every relationship or every partnership or every industry that's required to have partnerships, it always starts with just one person, right? You have to start and kind of build it out and have that relationship and build it further and further and further. But ultimately, you got to get the company to a point where it's not reliant solely on one channel or one partner, right? You got to be able to stand the whole thing up on its own. And I think the part that you're talking about, which is super critical for the people who don't understand the healthcare space or don't know all the individual pieces around the healthcare space, is regulations are extremely tight, right? Just that HIPAA alone, just on sending emails, there's HIPAA issues, right? Just on reaching out to people with patient, PHI, right? Protected health information is a huge problem. And so I think you guys navigating that red tape, if you can do that, that means you can pretty much do anything, right?
That's true. And navigating that, you're right. You start with one champion, build a relationship up, and then once you build the basics on security and privacy around those regulations, then the partnerships will actually grow faster. But you're 100% right.
And to kind of explain to the people who end up listening to this, where do you guys actually focus? Like, explain the product or the service so that people can have a good understanding of what problems you're solving.
Great question. So I think when I try to answer this question, Connor, it's hard to give you a 30-second elevator pitch because we're kind of like Cisco back in 1990s, or today you can actually compare us to Salesforce. I think it's a big company and great company to compare us to it, but we want to be the healthcare platform as Salesforce that they do that in sales and marketing and support channels today. So starting from there, imagine Cliexa with subspecialty agnostic features. We can provide patients a platform either in the clinic when they are having scheduled visits or in between visits, or along with those kind of visits in between. The doctors want to track them, what's going on with the treatment or medication or the well-being of the patient. We give the opportunity to the providers, to the clinics, hospital systems to tell us what they really want to collect from the patient before they take any action. So the ecosystem usually starts in a clinic. We onboard patients with tablets where they actually are designed and tailored to the needs on a clinical basis, what actually providers want. So in other words, we're not attacking the administrative burden of the basically healthcare problems or challenges. That's actually not the biggest problem. If you solve the clinical onboarding of a patient, what data points that you want to collect in their own terms, then it's easy to handle the administrative part anyway. With that said, we onboard the patient by screening them in those subspecialties own terms, regardless of primary care or cardiovascular. Then we actually onboard the patient asking the questions that the doctors would ask when they see them, or the MAs would ask, and then completely configured per clinic, not per subspecialty only, but also per clinic. Then that data falls into immediately to their patient charts in the EMR. So we're giving the opportunity to the providers to use what they're currently using. We're not providing another app, not providing another screen, a website, dashboard. They actually see everything in that report on the patient charts. And if the AMR actually, electrical medical records, have the capability to parse HL7 or FHIR in a way where we can display the data in their own terms, we will construct the data tables so that they will see in a graph or a report. So basically, we're compiling a data report on a clinical level from the patient, asking the right question, and then put it in front of the doctor, which will save time, make them compliant on documentation. And on top of that, they can actually do a lot of reimbursements models that they can actually make different buckets of reimbursement by those screeners. So that's kind of like an ecosystem, and then we can follow through with the remote monitoring and wire the patient on their own mobile phones and go from there.
In your experience, have you found that most people understand what you guys are doing, or do you find that the providers are a little bit confused by it? What has their take been so far?
Actually, in the beginning, that's a great question again, Connor. In the beginning, it was harder for the providers or the target customers to understand or comprehend what we were doing. But there were three reasons. One, we were trying to figure out the best message. We were a startup. We're 3 years old now. We're trying to give the right message to them because it does do, it does handle a lot of things at the same time. So we kind of dumbed it down to the model, what they want to hear. The second problem was because of the features that we have, it's a full ecosystem. So we're not a patient portal to collect patients' benefits or their social security or information and put it into their EMR discreetly. Or we're not just a remote patient monitoring, it's a full continuum of care ecosystem platform we provide and tailor it. So when you give that message to the physicians, they are like, okay, so what else are you trying to do? Is this like a tablet thing? Is this like a mobile app? Actually, it's the full ecosystem. So that was also the second challenge we were giving that message. But now on the third one, it's kind of like getting the interoperability part, the EMR integration. Now we can display it. It sounded, with all these features we were offering, it sounded kind of like too good to be true with today's challenges we just discussed, and obviously, healthcare and doctors and physicians with their own workload, they're having a hard time to track what's going on with technology. Even myself, spending 25 years in technology, I barely follow up with it. So those were three challenges to give that message to them, like what we do. But what we started to do is like we started to brand subspecialty specific platforms, created some templates, and then we just showed them what we do in rheumatoid arthritis, what we do in cardiovascular, which we built with American College of Cardiology. We co-developed that platform for home health monitoring. We branded out for pain, integrated pain. It started making much better progress on defining that message and kind of how they perceive that message.
And with your experience of kind of moving through the process, what are the, maybe not objections, but what are the major concerns that doctors have today that were maybe not concerns when you started?
I think I will give you two big ones. One is the market is so crowded with a lot of apps, right? So it is hard to give them the message. We're not an app. We're not one of them. We are actually more than that, but they don't have time, right? They see you one of those applications out there. So what are you offering additionally on top of what other people offering? And then why should I sign up with it? And I'm barely trying to get away from the physician burnout now. That was kind of like hard to get in there and give that to the people to get started with the platform. And the second is pretty much like, again, going back to that is the whole idea of interoperability. They don't have time. So they see in and out patients. They really care about providing the best for their patients. When you try to tell them, I'm going to provide you a clinical efficient way to do things better, get you digitized, more compliant, it is hard to get that message within 3 minutes. So it's hard to just give the whole picture within 3 minutes. And then they have seen enough. It's the challenge to say we're different. So I think one of the second one that I'm trying to focus on is out of the whole crowded healthcare innovative platforms and apps out there, it is hard to kind of say we're different. We're trying to do this better. Rather, we go and then show them the real KPIs we hit with other clinics, word of mouth, and we say, you want to talk to this ex doctor that deployed this platform and see the outcomes, kind of like helped us through that. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, no, no, that's exactly it. And so, as you guys kind of transition here and you start moving, down the pipeline, you kind of create new products or new add-ons to what you're doing. What do you see the future bringing yourself? What is the next step for you guys?
I think it is like really scaling heavily, Connor. That's what we're seeing. I think we have seen so far as a startup, the product market fit. We can actually show an outcomes and values and benefits like in numbers now. Like we're growing fast in a way like how we can scale this company more. We need more resources. That's why we're in an active Series A round right now to basically um, multiply the teams, get the executives in place, and grow faster. That's kind of like what we see about the company. Now, when you see what you see about the platform, I can see we're becoming a platform that are collecting multi-comorbidity data. We already have claims data integration. We already have device integration. So we have those buckets defined. So we're already putting AI on it, which we already proved that AI works with the right data. So we can predict outcomes in doctors' own terms rather than saying this product can predict X, Y, and Z. What we build is on the AI side, we ask specifically those doctors, what are your risk metrics for you for this condition, for this subspecialty? We actually have the AI kind of like tailored to it and start learning from it and start predicting along with it. And it will learn across time. So I can see us becoming a great clinical decision support tool in the future, not only single subspecialty, but multiple as we do it, and collecting the right data and presenting it effectively to the providers are the basically it's the key to build personalized care. That's what we're doing. So what I see is becoming a great AI platform as we have the right data, patient reported outcomes data, married with what the doctors are following through within the treatments and across time. That's where I see the ClearX is going to be in the future.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so to kind of, I like to keep these segments fairly short and not too long because I think people are very interested in the tip of the iceberg. How could people reach you and find you guys so that they could have a conversation? Let's say they're a healthcare provider, they're a health system, and they're interested in looking at what you have. What's the process? Do they get a demo? Do they go to the website? Do they call you? How do they actually reach you?
Yeah, all of the above, Connor. Great actually pointer there. So I think I suggest people to definitely go to our website, which is www.cliexa.com, which is CLIEXA.com. That stands for Clinical Excellence Algorithms. It is pretty similar to Alexa to remember. It's not Alexa, it's Cliexa. So they can go to the website. There are actually like point of contact forums. They can direct, and we respond. Even there are live chat bots on the website. They can actually just respond to it. Our team will get back to them. And what happens is when we get back to them, we definitely schedule a demo, whatever that top specialty is, and we can tailor it pretty quick. So if they say I want to do X, Y, and Z with reimbursements and screenings, we can tailor it without any type of like financial contraction or any type of MSA sign. We just build it up pretty quick. We demo the product, and then they can even pilot it for a month and see what it feels, either with real patients or their teams. It's pretty straightforward, and then we can go from there. Other than that, they can go to our Twitter page, which is again twitter.com/Cliexa, CLIEXA. On the LinkedIn page, they can search the company. We also have a contact form over there. They can reach us.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing, a little bit about the company and what you guys are doing. I hope some people, in the healthcare market and some of our partners and stuff like that will be able to come over and take a look at what they're doing. And I think what you have is, even though it's still, developing over time, it's a better solution than what currently exists out there. And I think if the physicians are willing to be data driven, then this is the right platform for them.
Thank you. Great point. And that you said like the keywords over there, Connor. I love what you just said. The platform is going to be driven by the real data as we collect, and the data is going to make the platform even stronger every day. And we're not striving for the patient engagement with apps or trying to do a consumer product. We're offering the solution where providers prescribe or say, you got to see me today for a scheduled appointment. Please respond to these questions. So we capture that data on the fly in their own terms, which builds and makes the platform stronger every day.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time and coming on the prospecting show today and sharing your business. A lot of these people that come on the show, they have a very specific vision. They got that visionary approach and they have that entrepreneurship feel to them. I really value your time, and thanks again for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Connor. This was great. Thank you so much.
Have a great day.